In this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, I sit down yet again with Joshua McMurray of Meet Me at the Table Games to talk all about Monster Mania. Then I sit down with Princess Leaf and Barbarian Leaf and we give you our thoughts or our take on Josh McMurray's Monster Mania. Then we'll talk about one of our Kickstarter backers' new compilation of short stories that they have on Kickstarter. And then we'll go to the corner. Kickstarter corner, that is. But first, a word from our sponsors. If you're anything like me and have been tasked with writing adventures for your role-playing group, you're probably in a scramble the night or hour before your role-playing game nights, trying to come up with exactly how you're gonna slaughter your players. Not anymore. This episode is powered by the new Dungeons & Dragons Mystery Box that's currently on Kickstarter. Jennifer is building a custom 5e Dungeons & Dragons storyline. It will be a mystery, even to the Dungeon Master. This will be a new story with sealed envelopes for the Game Master that will be opened when entering a new area, with either a mystery to solve in the room, creature to attack, NPCs, or puzzles. The player's guide will have each room description available with room for the Dungeon Master to be able to adjust accordingly, or it can be read exactly for new Dungeon Masters. It is preset for players levels 1 through 20. Want to know more? Then you're going to want to go back and listen to our sit down with her. The easiest way to find that will be checking out her Kickstarter update entitled Giveaway. We've teamed up with her to bring you an awesome worldwide giveaway in which one lucky winner will win an awesome tower to add to your collection valued at 120 USD. Check that out over at thegiveawaygeek.com. You get extra entries for being subscribed to our show, as I know you are. You like games? Check. You like manga? Check. You like the 80s? Check. You're going to love this next sponsor. Double check. This episode is sponsored by Robotech Crisis Point. It's up for pre-order. Get some awesome exclusives by pre-ordering it today. In case you missed it, go give my interview with Dave, the designer and publisher, a listen by searching for Robotech Crisis Point on my website, GameReliefGo.com. Then pre-order soon, because when they run out of exclusives, they run out.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
The end is near, and the final blood moon has risen. Giant monsters have awoken and are using the world as their battleground. Humanity has created their own monsters to defend the earth. What ensues is mass chaos, destruction, and mania.
Did that sound familiar to y'all? It did to me, because I've had this guest on the show before, but maybe it didn't to you. But this is a story of Monster Mania that's back on Kickstarter, and tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator and mastermind behind this game, Joshua McMurray from Meet Me at the Table Games himself. Is that right, Josh? Is that how you fall in line with Monster Mania?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and thanks for having me again, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. What is this, the fourth? You might be my my guest that's come back the most thus far.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is I think this is the fourth time. So.
Oh boy. Well, I guess you haven't got bored of us yet.
No, I love this show.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, before we jump into everything that's great about Monster Mania, maybe somebody hasn't listened to all the episodes, so they missed you last time, but they're new to the show. How did you get into playing tabletop board games, Josh?
As I have discussed that, I think in not in the last episode, but I think it was the very first episode. My brother and I, we used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon quite a bit. And I really liked the mechanics of those kinds of games and kind of just from there, I always had a love, and we would ask for board games for Christmas while everyone else was asking for video games and stuff like that. So we would always get board games, and we would have family nights and, play a bunch of games. So I think that's mainly where it stemmed from.
So what kind of board games did you end up getting instead of these video games that they have?
Mostly, so I was very into chess. So I couldn't really get anyone to play with me because I was very good at it, and also Scrabble and Boggle for all my word people out there. I've never really lost at Boggle. So again, it's a lot of people just they played at first and then they're like, don't really want to play with you anymore.
Oh boy, I'm the other way around. My game was checkers before I found out what the hobby tabletop board gaming is. I actually served a mission for my church for a couple years, and one of our leaders during that time, he was actually back in his prime. He was a professional checker player. I didn't even know they had those, and so he had all these books, and I learned how to play checkers, and usually I can not be beat at my home, but that's about the only game that I end up winning consistently.
Yeah, well, I remember you saying you're not really like super into strategy, or you sometimes like your kids can beat you, but checkers is your game, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I like it, but yeah, strategy's a little rough for me, but I like to play games. And then, let's see, so you moved so what did you go to after Boggle and stuff, or how did you discover what hobby board gaming is today, Josh?
Sure. Well, when I went off to college, I had a roommate who was very into tabletop gaming, and he had a bunch of games that I had never really heard of. I'm trying to think of just a few off the top of my head, like the Resident Evil deck building game, Smash Up. I'm trying to think. Dominion was another one. That's actually one of my favorite games. So we just got into it and kept it going, even though again a lot of people were playing video games online and stuff. We were inviting people over and playing games, so it's good stuff.
Awesome. And I imagine you amassed a collection yourself?
Yes, I have a lot.
And I imagine you've played them all?
Actually, yeah, surprisingly. I know a lot of people have a bunch of games that they either back or... Now, granted, the new games that I've backed on Kickstarter that are just now coming in, I haven't had a chance to play those yet, but...
Oh, okay, good. I won't feel so bad then.
You have quite a few that you haven't played?
Yeah, we got a lot. We keep collecting them.
The shame games, right? No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I've heard also the Shelf of Opportunity. That's another way to call it.
Yeah, there you go. That's a little more optimistic, yeah.
So there you go, awesome. And then you talked about you came up with Meet Me at the Table games. I think Frontier, the card game, was your first game. How did you go ahead and go from playing to creating, Josh?
I think it was one of those things, and again, I don't remember if I had talked to you about this or not, or if it was even recorded or not, but one day I was going through, apparently I had created a game way back in the day. I think I don't even know how old I was when I made it, but it was kind of like a chess board game with cards that moved instead of pieces. So it was like you're moving cards on a big board, and I found it just in storage one day and was like, wow, this game's pretty cool. I started tweaking it. It became a little too much, and then I was like, well, we'll see what happens. And I ended up taking a course in college, and it was a traditional game design class. So it was like, making card games, board games and stuff. And I started making games with my group, and the artist that designed Frontier, well, she did the artwork for it, was one of my classmates. And I actually approached her and was like, hey, the teacher gave us an A because the games are really good. I designed all the mechanics and stuff myself and the themes, and she's like, hey, let's make a game, or let's do that. So from there it just blossomed into
If this is our first time hearing about Monster Mania, what can you tell them about this great game, Josh?
Well, it's got a lot to it. It's got basically mechanics of the game. It's a very battle-oriented game. There's hand management, there's resource management, there's bluffing, because you'll have cards in your hand and say, "Oh, don't attack me," or I have this card, I have this card. So, but essentially, the idea of the game is think Rampage or any of those Godzilla type games, movies, and it's basically what one reviewer described it as is it's an all-out rumble with you get like an army of monsters. Instead of just one, you're getting three, and there's a lot of strategy to the game, a lot of tactical aspects, but the main idea is to defeat 5 of your opponent's monsters. Once you do that, you have won that round.
And how many rounds are there?
Oh, there's no, that was a misplay of words. Yeah, you just win the game. So, but we are implementing, basically there's a deck building and card drafting variant, and we call it the Monster Mania tournament. And basically you play 3 rounds of that, and whoever comes out on top wins that. So technically there are rounds, but not in the free-for-all gameplay.
You talk about a deck building variant. Where can I find that so we can... I love deck building.
Yes. So you actually are not going to find it in your rule book that you have.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we did not put it in it was not fully finalized when we sent out the prototypes. But basically, I can just tell you right now how to play it. It's really simple. It's just like any deck builder. What you're going to do is, and I know a lot of deck builders have limits on that. They pull out 20 cards, pull out 25 different ones, and kind of pull from those. But we kind of made it where you just take the stacks, put them up, put one of each, and there's a lot of different ones. You can kind of choose if you want to, or you don't have to. You can just lay them all out, and then each person one at a time is going to pick and choose what cards they want, and they're going to add it to their own deck. And basically, instead of drawing from a central pile, you're going to have a choice. You have to pick, I think it's 10 monsters. You have to have 40 cards in your deck. So I think there's 15 monsters. There's 8 supports, 7 counters, and then 10 environmentals. And basically, you choose which cards are going into your deck. So, it's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, but you don't have to get all the booster packs kind of thing. So that's basically what that is. And then you just play as normal. And then it's the same exact game, except you're drawing from your own personal pile, your own deck. And then you can play up to 4 players. There's enough to have 4 players instead of 6, because 40 cards times 4 people, that's 160 cards. So
Okay, I get a lot of developers and people that are trying to work on games and stuff that listen. Can you walk us through the process of developing different variants in Monster Mania?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, basically the game was initially designed with a bunch of those kinds of things in mind. I wanted to create a game that wasn't just single dimension, just have a free-for-all mode. Even though that is fun, we wanted to give players the most out of everything. So that's why we have the solo modes. That's why we have the co-op and again the deck building and card drafting variants. We wanted players to have the most playtime out of that game. So when we created that, those cards kind of go hand in hand, and the strategies are so tactical that those cards will all go together. So when you create those variants, it kind of almost makes themselves, without you really realizing it. But yeah, that's kind of how that works.
Awesome. And I love the rule book, it's like every page gets a different number and I don't remember if they were all variants or just all kind of different rules. Like every page has a different number and it looks awesome.
Yeah. The rule book was definitely a lot of work to put that together. And, I made the decision to include the solo objectives and the co-op and the other variants, because there are also other variants in there too. There's if you don't want to start with just one monster, you can start with two, you can start with three, and it kind of affects the gameplay. And we also did like the challenges too, which are almost like the trophies in a game. You play like on PlayStation, and you kind of try to achieve those while you're playing. They're really difficult. They're really hard to do, but we've had quite a few playtesters get a good majority of them, so they're not impossible. But yeah, it's give everyone bang for their buck. That's what I say. So
Yeah, I don't know. I know I got a prototype and whatnot, but it seems like people might, if they back Monster Mania, they might get a whole bunch of cards. Am I right?
yes, there's 216, six of those being the instruction cards, so one for each player in the game, essentially.
But 210 cards, that's a lot, plus the instruction cards. So I've got my game. We went ahead and backed. So I put it on the table. How do I play Monster Mania in case anybody's wondering, Joshua?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, the setup is really, really easy, and we wanted to make that as easy as possible. And that same goes for the co-op and the solo. The setups are all really simple. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take out one of each monster. So depending on if we get those stretch goals, there's going to be 18 total monsters in the game. You'll take one of each of those out. You will pass out, if you're playing just the normal game mode, one for each player. That's random, of course. So no two games are ever the same. You're getting a different monster every game, hopefully anyways. And essentially from there, you're going to draw 5 cards. So each player is going to draw 5 cards. The player who most recently watched a monster movie is going to go first. And then you go ahead. There's 4 different card types in the game. There's monsters, there's environmentals, there's supports and counters. And you can do any number of actions on your turn. So there's no limit, which makes the strategy really intense. And also the tactical nature. You kind of have to, decide, oh, am I going to do this or save this for the next turn? But essentially, once you have a monster out in play, you're able to play environmentals, which either will make you gain attack points, or you can deal environmental damage. So you can, throw a cement mixer or an oil truck. Or if you go, I'd rather take the attack points from this card, I'm going to take 2 attack points and use that against my opponent, which then leads me to my next action, which is attacking, of course, because they're giant monsters. You're going to attack. So, and there's also no limit to attacking. If you have the attack points to do it, you can attack. So, a bunch of different things, but that's the main draw of the game.
I'm trying to take out 5 of their monsters, or 5 of somebody's monsters, and then I win.
Yes, and you can imagine in a 3 or 4 player game, you think that would be an easy task, but it's actually really not, because you're going to have players, defending themselves using their counters from their hands to evade attacks, or put environmental damage right back in your face. So we had one of the matches at Miniature Market. It lasted about an hour, but it was a really, really good match, and it was very even. It ended up only as a 1 prize point differential, so the one player won 5-4, which was a really, really good game.
Oh yeah, I thought I almost had Princess Leaf, but then she come and did something that healed her health, and then she took out one of my monsters and stuff. It didn't drag on, but it seemed like I thought I had her, and then I didn't.
Yeah, that will happen a lot. That kind of is the whole the tactical nature of the game. You draw cards, and then it's all random. But the nice thing about the game is what I mentioned earlier too. One of the mechanics is hand management, and this game really takes it to the next level.
So before your internet so rudely cut us off, we were talking about hand management and how this takes it to the next level. What can you tell us about that, Josh?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, absolutely. I think I kind of summed up basically how that affects the gameplay. Essentially, you're manipulating your hand to create the strategy that you want. So if you have two environmentals and you have a monster on the field and you're like, I don't want this monster to take this damage, or I want to discard this for the next turn. You can kind of manipulate and discard as you please, which really kind of reduces a little bit of that luck of just drawing every single turn from a shared deck.
And I was trying to grasp onto it. I think I was getting it by the time me and my daughter were done playing, but there's a part where you have your hand and you can play cards without activating environmentals or something. What can you tell us about that?
So, are you referring to the support cards?
Yeah, that's what it was. Support cards. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So the supports, there's two different ways to use them. Actually, there's three technically. Um, Basically, you can play them, which is you playing them face down in your support slots. And the reason you would do this is because it kind of clears out your hand space. So if you don't want to keep them in your hand, and you're like, I want to draw 3 cards on my next turn, I'm going to play all 3 of these face down. That kind of clears up your hand space. And the other reason is if you want to do a strategy in a particular order. Let's say, for example, you want to play all of your environmentals and then you want to activate Peace Offering, which basically Peace Offering is no player can use environmentals. So you kind of use those environmentals and then you kind of annoy your opponents by saying, hey, now you guys can't do it on your next turn. So but basically, so there's playing. So playing is the act of playing it face down, and then activating is turning it face up. So once it's active, you use the appropriate effect, whether that's a one-time use, two-time use, three-time use. You will get turn usage tokens. We call them turn usage points in the game, and you just place those on there to indicate how many turns or uses you have left. So that's basically how that goes. And then the third way of using it is the Nexus Globe, which that kind of evades all rules in the rule book, but basically you can only activate that from your Rebel pile, but it still activates like a normal support card.
Yeah, so I was kind of confused about that one. What can you tell us about that? I think it seemed like my daughter had figured it out, but I was kind of coming slow to the table. What about the Nexus card?
Yeah, so the Nexus Globe card, essentially what it is it kind of tricks your opponent. So the idea behind it is that you can only stop things from your hand, but that's not true. So the Nexus Globe, you put that in your Rebel pile, which is your discard pile, and you can activate that from the Rebel pile. So you kind of, once your Rebel pile kind of cards starts stacking up, you kind of have a Nexus Globe hidden in there. And what the Nexus Globe does, so if you have an open support slot, you can activate that card and it prevents an attack by an opponent. So basically, let's say, okay, you attack me and I activate Nexus Globe. You now cannot attack me for the remainder of your turn. And that's what that card's effect does. But it has to only be used from the Rebel pile. You can play it face down, but you can never activate it. So if you play it from your hand, you can never activate it because it's not in your Rebel pile, if that makes sense.
Okay, so I pretty much discard that game straight away, and then that way it can be played later on.
Yeah. Or if you had like the effect of a card that said like discard 1 card from your hand, you would obviously want to discard Nexus Globe because that's better used in the Rebel pile.
Oh, okay, so discard that, and then I guess I have to remember what's in my Rebel pile, otherwise it won't do me any good.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things. Again, the strategy of the game is knowing when you should discard that. So if you don't have any monsters, it doesn't really make any sense to discard that card. But if you have a field full of monsters, you might want to say, well, I'm going to activate Nexus Globe so my opponent can't attack or hurt my monsters.
Okay, that's awesome. And during play testing, was there ever anything that you had to get rid of or that wouldn't work for this game? Or how'd play testing go down for Monster Mania, Joshua?
Yeah, I think we had talked a little bit about that, about what was changed in terms of, the abilities. We had monsters with abilities. We had events and landscapes, which are, those just modify gameplay in some way, shape, or form. But one of the big things is the thing that was changed was using environmentals with a monster in play. So the original game was you had your monsters in your hand, and then you would play your environmentals from there. And then let's you know you have to have a monster in your field in order to use it, because the monster is the one throwing the building, or throwing the school bus, or whatever the case might be. But that was actually caught on by our consultant AJ. He's like, hey, why don't we try it this way? And kind of started building from there. And it's like, oh yeah, this is a no brainer. Let's you have to have monsters in play to use environmentals. And then one of the things that I had implemented earlier was, oh, you could place counter cards face down in your support slots before they were called support slots, of course. And we decided that no, let's have them in your hand, because that way it adds an additional layer of strategy. It's like, oh, if I have 2 cards in my hand, are you going to attack me? Because I might be able to evade one of those attacks. So that's where the bluffing mechanism comes in.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, just looking at the art and stuff like I talked about before, even before we'd cracked the shrink wrap off the prototype copy you sent us, just looking at the box art, it's amazing.
Yeah, Taylor, she is just remarkably talented. I was very, very lucky to have found her. Actually, it's funny because my consultant AJ was the one who was like, hey, you're looking for an artist for your monster game. Hey, I have someone. She's really, really good. And I contacted her right away, and she's like, oh, hey, wow, that was really, really fast. You must be serious about this. It's like, yeah, I really want this game to be created. And next thing I know, she's just churning out like this magnificent art. She did all the graphics. She's done all the graphics for the advertising. She did the entire rule book, the layout. Yeah, it just all looks fantastic.
Awesome. And I know we talked about this last time as well, but looking at the different Kickstarter pages, they look night and day. Frontier, the card game, and Monster Mania.
Yes, and like you said, we did talk about this last time, but yeah, it was one of those things where I really, really wanted the page to be professionally presented. I wanted someone to cross the page and say, this project looks really good. It's really well constructed, and have faith in the project.
So, Josh, when it comes to Monster Mania, what makes your game pop as one my audience should go check out? And if they like what they've heard and like what they see on the Kickstarter page, why should they go ahead and back it?
That is a really good question, and I do have an answer for that. And it's simply the fact of this game is different. It's very, very different. There's not a lot of, number one, big monster type games. A lot of those games do not come with all of those variants included in the original game. A lot of those are add-ons, or they kind of do those later down the line. They kind of extend that a little bit, but we're including all of that in the game. We don't have to get to any stretch goals to get it. It's just included in the game.
Yeah, that's always nice. I like that one, because otherwise I have to wait and see, oh, they get a stretch goal, or I have to do an add-on. So that's pretty cool that you get all these variants or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a big reason why, we wanted, and I can't stress enough, if you have faith in my project, I want to make sure that you get the most out of what you're paying for. And I feel like the modes, there's hours and hours and hours of gameplay to be had for Monster Mania. There's so many different things in this game. I mean, I'm not going to say it's on the level of like Gloomhaven, but there's a lot of gameplay in this that can be had.
Yeah, I think the box is a little bit lighter, if I recall.
Yes, very much so. Not even close to Gloomhaven's weight or size,
but that's okay. It's a card game, and you don't. Yeah, so but it looks like a really cool game. Awesome, yeah, and it sounds like this game kind of should appeal to different kind of gamers, because, like you said, there's different modes. There's all kinds of different play ways you can play it. Like he said, he did the solo solo preview or solo playthrough. There's also a multiplayer one that we don't necessarily like, as it's co-op, because we don't really care for co-op. But then there's also a everybody against everybody monster mashdown or whatnot.
Yeah, that's actually, again, that's the main game mode, because that's the most fun, is the free for all. And one of the, like I was saying, there's actually two variants to the free for all modes, and like I said previously, you start with one monster in the game. Well, in those custom modes, each player starts with two, or each player starts with three, and you can imagine how much chaos happens when you start with two or three monsters. The game goes by really, really quick, and it's actually pretty fun. But it's depends on there's a lot of luck in that mode, but it's still fun.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're gonna have to get this back to the table, so I can see who will really win. Like I said, my daughter. I thought I almost had her, but then I didn't. So we'll have to see. So, and like I said, we'll make sure we leave links in the show notes so anybody who's listening can jump over and check that out. Well, we don't want to keep you all night, especially on a weeknight, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief with us last minute, so we could tell people that maybe we're sleeping through the weekend all about Monster Mania.
No, absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on again, and for everyone listening, same. Thank you for listening.
Monsters ached and bellowed in the corners of the city. No one really had a ruler. Nor would they until the Leafs finished their little science experiment / battle of the fittest. Barbarian Leaf sent in his T-Rex, while Princess Leaf her Tree-normous. There was clawing and gnashing. Gamer Leaf even threw in some monsters for growling and tried to come off victorious. But in the end, Princess Leaf got in and down to business, and now rules this city of monsters. Until next time, that is. Familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but that was a story of myself and the Leafs, at least Barbarian Leaf and Princess Leaf. That was us playing Josh McMurray's Monster Mania from Meet Me at the Table Games, that is currently on Kickstarter.
Welcome to Family Fun Day Friday. Today we're joined with me and Gamer Leaf. Today we're going to be talking about Monster Mania. It's a fun game for lots of people that can play. If you're a fan of Monster, we'll be telling you what we thought about Monster Mania. This is a review.
Game over.
We're joined by Gamer Leaf, and y'all know who's talking.
Who's talking?
Barbarian Leaf.
How you doing, Barbarian Leaf?
Well, this is a game.
Yeah, what game did you play
We're
today?
gonna review this game called Monster Mania. It's a fun game. If you're a fan of monsters, well then play Monster Mania.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. What can you tell us about Monster Mania?
It's a fun game. It's ages 10 and up, and 1 to 6 players. There's lots of monsters. There's even a T-Rex, but it's called I forgot what it's called, but
Monster Mania.
yeah, I know. I'm talking about the T-Rex.
Yeah, there was a lot of different monster cards.
So you're trying to get prize points. If you get 5 of those, you'll win the game.
And how do you get those?
Well, to get them, you need to attack monster and kill them. So to kill them, you need to attack. But to attack, you'll need a card that lets you attack.
It's not as easy as you think, is it?
Yeah, but to get attack point, well, you don't have to have a card to tell you attack. Well, you can get the attack points. Well, you get them from cards.
Yeah. So, what were your overall feelings about Monster Mania, the game?
It's fun.
Cool. What made it fun?
I got the best part of playing it is playing with my family.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. But you said it was fun. What would you tell your friend about Monster Mania?
Play it if you like monsters, but if you don't like it, but still play it. Just give it a try.
Yeah, give it a try. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you could change one thing about Monster Mania, what would you do?
Make it so you can attack whenever you want.
Instead of having to build up attack points?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it was pretty balanced. I liked it a lot, too.
Well, actually, I like the part with attack points. I'm talking about, like, when you don't have to get from cards, like, from dices. Like, if they added dices, they can roll with the number, and they get that much attack point.
Oh, okay. So instead of having to based on the cards or the different attacks.
And if one of them was 16, you had to get 2 6s.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Another mechanic if they ever come out with expansions.
No, actually 3 6s if you want to get the 18 in it.
You heard it here on Barbarian Leaf, from Barbarian Leaf, what he would do to expand the game. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you had money in your wallet, did you know this game is on Kickstarter currently?
Yep.
So what should the nice people do?
What?
What should the nice people do?
Try to give it a try.
Yeah, and they can do that by going ahead and checking it out on Kickstarter.
Yeah, but make sure you play Monster Mania. It's a very fun game for kids too.
Yeah, interesting. How about you go get Princess Leaf and I can see what she thought about it.
Okay.
Guess who I'm joined by now?
Princess Leaf.
How you doing, Princess Leaf?
Good.
Good, that's good to hear. What you been up to lately?
We played Monster Mania.
Cool, what can you tell us about that game?
Well, I won.
Again?
No.
Well, we hadn't finished the full game last time, but you ended up cleaning house with me that time too.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about Monster Mania, Princess Leaf?
So there are 18 monster cards, and there are normal cards. Like, there's different cards, yeah.
Environmentals and support cards and evasion cards.
Yeah.
So how do you play this game?
You basically have a random monster at the start of your game, and you put it on one of your monster tiles, and then you have your monsters, and you have to have attack points, and you can attack with those and their different abilities and damage and how many tokens you do, and then you want to win 5 prize tokens by killing 5 of the other players' monsters.
One of your prize points didn't come through your attacks fully. How did you get that one?
Barbarian Leafs.
What happened? Did you kill him or what happened?
No, he killed himself.
Yeah, so you got prize point. Everybody else gets prize points for that. So, how do you get these attack points that you talked of?
You have to, there's a card that says 2 attack points or 1 attack point or attack points, period.
Yeah, so you discard environmentals and they give you different things. You can either put damage on the monsters, other people's monsters, or you can go ahead and discard them and earn attack points. It's kind of really a strategic game. What were your overall thoughts of Monster Mania, Princess Leaf?
It was fun, especially because I won.
Oh boy, what if you hadn't won? Would you thought about it?
It would have still been fun.
It was pretty cool. So, what made it fun?
It was fun to play.
Yeah, but what made it fun to play?
It had monsters.
Okay, so the monsters make it fun. Did you have a favorite monster by chance?
The tree guy.
The tree guy, Tree-normous? I don't remember his name, but that's pretty cool. And if you could change one thing about Monster Mania, what would that be, Princess Leaf?
I would make it so it's on Kickstarter forever.
An indefinite Kickstarter. There you go, Josh. You can go ahead and run the campaign for the rest of your life. Princess Leaf gave you permission. And what would you tell your friends about Monster Mania?
Play Monster Mania.
Any parting words, or what games might we be playing in the future, Princess Leaf?
We might be playing, we might be playing Fireball Island.
Oh, cool. That sounds fun. Okay, people. My review. What did I think about Monster Mania? Well, I really enjoy the art on Monster Mania. As I've stated previously in my interviews with Josh, I think both times, even before we opened the box, just getting it in the mail, even though it's a prototype, the box art, it would be something that I would pick up off the shelf to want to bring home to play with my family. So we're going to have to give Taylor Tate 10 leaves for art. And Josh, in his game design, the game plays excellent. I like it. If I was going to change one thing about it, some of the cards, it's a little bit wordy, I guess would be the best way to describe them. They have a lot of choices to do. Well, not too many. There are 2 choices on some of the cards. But some of the wording on some of the cards makes it a little tricky. So I would just clean that up a little bit. But otherwise, the play is really thought out. Strategy is hard for me. You know I suffer from analysis paralysis. So strategy is a little hard for me. But I really like this game. Several times while playing with Princess Leaf, I thought I had her, but then I didn't. You know me. In chess, what I do is I just move the pieces the way you can move them. Usually end up losing my kids. Same thing happens in Monster Mania. But if you're big into strategy, then this is a great card game for you. I bet I could do better at it if I had more well thought out strategies. One thing I would change if I had the rights to Monster Mania would be that rule where it says at the beginning of your turn, draw up to 5 cards. I would make that at the end of your turn. Reason being is that way those of us that suffer from analysis paralysis, while it's not our turn, we could be perusing through our cards and we could decide what we wanted to do before our turn came around. I know I was struggling waiting for the kids to come up with what they wanted to do, but they probably felt the same way about me. Overall, I really love this game, Monster Mania by Josh McMurray from Meet Me at the Table Games.
Gamer Leaf levels up.
Before we go to Kickstarter Corner, I'd be very ungrateful if I didn't shout out and deliver one of my backers' rewards, so here goes. Much thanks be to Viction Vortex for backing our Kickstarter campaign. I was very pleased to learn that they've launched their very first Kickstarter campaign, Grifty Shades of Fae, a fiction anthology cautionary tales uncovering the darker side of the fairy folk, which doesn't include mature content, making it family friendly. It'll include works from 2 of my very favorite authors, both David Farland, who is my favorite when it comes to epic fantasy novels, as well as Michael Brent Collins, who is my all-time favorite horror author. If I can somehow convince the 2 of them to come on the show to talk more about this, as well as their other writing, I will do it. It also includes the likes of Sarah Hoyt, Patty Larson, Johnny Worthen, and A.J. Benson. If you're a reader, know a reader, or just want some awesome stories, check out Grifty Shades of Fae, a fiction anthology that'll be on Kickstarter through Saturday the 25th of May. And then back it like I did. Let's take a walk, not to the corner store, but to Kickstarter Corner.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaves computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leaves.
Did you catch our episode on Tuesday the 22nd of April? No? Well, go back and give it a listen. We sat down with Kirsty and Sherman to talk all about Endless Realms, Tome of Spirits, which sounds like an awesome resource to add to your role-playing game arsenal. As well, I really love the art. You can easily access the interview by scrolling down near the bottom of their Kickstarter campaign page. Give it a listen. Check out the Kickstarter and then back it before Thursday the 23rd of May. Shard Hunters the card game It's simple and dynamic gameplay, exclusive artwork, love dark fantasy games but don't have much time? Then this 20-minute game is for you. Some things about the game: actions happen simultaneously, no handicap for new players, no stealing, no player elimination, and monster cards are completely language independent. Plus, the art is amazing. Jump on over and check out their Kickstarter campaign and back it before Friday the 10th of May. If I got asked who's your favorite designer that if you could, you'd want all their games, that's easy. Hands down, I'd say Ta-Te-Woo. He's back. This time, it's a game that uses my favorite mechanics of deck building in Promenade, the game of impressionist art, in which you become the most prestigious painting collector in a 2 to 4 player economic deck building game of impressionistic art. Players are art collectors, and the goal is to manipulate marketing value by acquiring and exhibiting impressionistic paintings. Players receive points by exhibiting paintings from their hand and additional points from the paintings and gold in their collection at the end of the game. When the game ends, the player with the most victory points wins the game. Go check it out and back the Kickstarter before Sunday, May 12th. Plus, you can go and search on my website for Promenade, and you should be able to find the episode that way. You enter the unknown dungeon as the hunter. Turn by turn, the dungeon reveals itself to your party. You must adapt your strategy. Choose when to forge ahead or when to step back and regroup. The dungeon can be unforgiving, and even in competitive play, you might find it necessary to forge alliances to survive. Your team makes noise as they explore. The more noise they make, the more they risk awakening the dark evil that lurks within. Soon you realize that you have become the hunted. Sound familiar? Not my fault. You missed the Dungeons of Infinity on Kickstarter? Yes, that was my fault. Well, I'm here to mend my mistakes, to let you know we're not too late. If you missed the campaign, don't dismay. Click the link in my show notes to show your support and not have to be worried if it won't reach its funding goal, because it's already been done for you on the Kickstarter. Dungeons of Infinity is a board game for 1 to 5 players set in a mythical kingdom ruled by King Armiger. His land is full of dungeons built in the distant past. He recruits teams of heroes to delve into many dungeons to free the land from the evils that lie within. Head on over and make your pledge today by clicking the link in the show notes before you miss it yet again. But this time, it won't be my fault. Just like the next guy, I love a good board game. I also love to dress with class, so imagine my surprise when I found this next one on Kickstarter. Board Game Neckties by Tactical Meeple Depot, allowing us to geek out when we dress up. They have partnered with a number of your favorite publishers and are in talks with even more to bring us designs based on some of their greatest known games. Each is officially licensed and is designed with the actual illustrations and graphics from the games we love. Take a look at the current roster of available designs, all starting at just $18 on their Kickstarter page. Anywhere from Scythe, Mystic Veil to Smash Up, plus many others. To sweeten the deal, we have teamed up with Tactical Meeple Depot on our other site, thegiveawaygeek.com, to bring y'all an awesome giveaway. One person will win 3 ties, including Roll for Your Life, Candyman, Space Base, and a Meeple tie. If the Kickstarter project reaches its funding goal, another person will win 2 of those ties that they choose, and another winner will win one of those ties of their choice. Go check out the giveaway at thegiveawaygeek.com and check out their Kickstarter, and let's make this a reality. If you want to hear more from Tactical Meeple Depot, go give my interview with Gilbert a listen. It's easily accessible in their Kickstarter update entitled Over Halfway There, an interview with Game Relief. Give it a listen. Check out the campaign and giveaway and back the coolest ties out there before Thursday the 2nd of May. Last but not least is Titana Machina. which is a crunchy giant robot brawl that reminds me of Rampage, the video game, minus the dexterity, but with cool robots. They're also doing a giveaway at thegiveawaygeek.com. Can't figure out how to pronounce the name of the game? Me neither, so I just asked in my interview with Robert. Go give that a listen in my interview with him. It's easily accessed by going to their Kickstarter page entitled, How Do You Pronounce This Word? Tachina Machina. Go listen and check out their Kickstarter and the giveaway and back the campaign before May 20th. Just like with all the other games we talk about, if you thought anything that we talked about, even though I lost the game, we'd encourage you to go check out Monster Mania on the Kickstarter now, and any of the other games we talked about, either episode sponsors or Kickstarter corner. See if they're in your genre of games, and if you like them, let's show a little bit of support to them. Do it through our links on our Kickstarter show notes, so you can show Game Relief a little bit of love as well as these creators. Let's keep them coming to Getting Geeky with Game Relief. It's our least favorite time, and I'll let Princess Leaf carry the show out, okay? We'll catch you on the flip side. Game Relief, and here's Princess Leaf, but I'm out. Well, I guess it's time to say goodbye to our audience. How do we let them know we're going anywhere?
Stay geeky, get geeky, and bring others into the geek fold. Catch you on the flip side. Game Relief and Princess Leaf out.
Out.
Game over. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf and Dreams are respawned.